The 1970s gave us some of the most iconic music in history. But beyond the household names, there were bands that filled arenas, topped charts, and defined the decade for millions of fans. These weren't one-hit wonders. They were genuine stars of their time, beloved by those who lived through that era. Yet somehow, their names have faded from today's playlists and conversation. Here are 10 bands only those who grew up in the 70s know exist. Number 10. Grand Funk Railroad. When Grand Funk Railroad sold out Shea Stadium in 1971, they did it faster than the Beatles. That's not nostalgia talking, that's history. The Michigan-based power trio of Mark Farner, Don Brewer, and Mel Shacker became one of the biggest American rock bands of the early 70s, moving millions of albums and packing stadiums from coast to coast. Their sound was raw, loud, and unapologetically heavy. Songs like "We're an American Band" and "Some Kind of Wonderful" became anthems for a generation that wanted their rock and roll stripped down and turned up. Grand Funk didn't worry about critical approval. They focused on their fans, and their fans showed up. By 1973, they'd scored their first #1 hit with "We're an American Band," a song that captured the swagger and chaos of life on the road. They followed it up with "The Locomotion," a cover that hit #1 in 1974. Grand Funk Railroad understood what their audience wanted, and they delivered it with the kind of energy that made concerts feel like events. The critics never warmed to them. Rolling Stone and other publications regularly dismissed their music as simplistic. But while critics wrote their reviews, Grand Funk was selling out venues and racking up gold and platinum records. Between 1970 and 1975, they released 11 albums, and most of them went gold or better. What made them resonate wasn't complexity, it was honesty. Their lyrics spoke to working-class kids who saw themselves in songs about freedom and the American experience. Mark Farner's guitar work and vocals gave the band its backbone, while Brewer's drumming and Shacker's bass created a foundation that could hold up any arena. By the late 70s, lineup changes and shifting musical tastes slowed their momentum. They disbanded in 1976, though they reunited multiple times over the years. For those who grew up in the 70s, Grand Funk Railroad was the soundtrack to summer road trips, basement parties, and late-night FM radio sessions. Number 9. Bachman-Turner Overdrive. If you grew up in the 70s, you knew BTO. Bachman-Turner Overdrive emerged from Canada in 1973, with a straightforward approach to rock that connected immediately with audiences. Randy Bachman, fresh from his success with the Guess Who, formed the band with Fred Turner and Tim Bachman, creating a sound built on thick guitars, driving rhythms, and blue-collar lyrics. Their breakthrough came with "Taking Care of Business" in 1973, a song that became an instant classic for anyone who'd ever punched a clock. It wasn't fancy, but it didn't need to be. The song's simple message and infectious groove made it a staple on rock radio for years. Then came "You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet" in 1974, a song that hit #1 and became BTO's biggest success. The track featured a distinctive stuttering vocal that Randy Bachman originally intended as a joke for his brother, who had a speech impediment. When the label heard it, they insisted on releasing it as a single. It worked. The song shot up the charts and turned Bachman-Turner Overdrive into international stars. Their albums consistently went platinum. Not Fragile topped the charts in 1974, and songs like Roll On Down the Highway and Hey You kept them in heavy rotation on FM radio. BTO's approach was never about pushing boundaries. They made rock music for people who wanted to feel the power of a great riff without overthinking it. Internal tensions led to lineup changes in the mid-70s, and by 1979, the original formation had dissolved. But for those who lived through that era, BTO represented rock and roll honesty. They weren't trying to be the most innovative band in the world. They were trying to make music that connected, and for millions of fans, that's exactly what they did. Number 8. Foghat. Foghat took the blues rock tradition and turned it into arena-sized boogie. Formed in 1971 by former Savoy Brown members Lonesome, Dave Peverett, Rod Price, Tony Stevens, and Roger Earl, the British band relocated to America and found an audience hungry for their brand of straightforward, guitar-driven rock. Their signature song, Slow Ride, released in 1975, became one of the decade's most recognizable tracks. That opening guitar riff is etched into the memory of anyone who spent time listening to rock radio in the 70s. The song peaked at number 20 on the Billboard Hot 100, but its impact went far beyond chart positions. Foghat's approach was deceptively simple. They took blues progressions, added rock and roll energy, and delivered everything with a looseness that made their music feel accessible. Songs like Fool for the City and I Just Want to Make Love to You showcased their ability to take traditional blues and make it work in stadiums and on FM radio. The band toured relentlessly throughout the 70s, often playing over 200 shows a year. They became known for their live performances, where they'd stretch songs into extended jams that showcased Rod Price's slide guitar work. By 1977, they'd released Foghat Live, an album that captured the energy of their concerts and went double platinum. It featured extended versions of their hits and demonstrated why they'd built such a strong following on the road. As the 70s wound down and musical tastes shifted toward new wave and punk, Foghat's brand of boogie rock fell out of favor. But for those who grew up with them, the band represented a time when rock and roll felt unpretentious and genuine. Number 7. Styx. Before they became synonymous with 80s power ballads, Styx spent the 70s building a reputation as one of the hardest-working bands in rock. The Chicago-based group, featuring Dennis DeYoung, Tommy Shaw, James Young, Chuck Panozzo, and John Panozzo, created a sound that blended progressive rock ambitions with accessible melodies. Their breakthrough came with Lady in 1975, a song that DeYoung had written years earlier. When a DJ in Chicago started playing it, the response was overwhelming. The song climbed to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 and established Styx as more than just a regional act. Come Sail Away arrived in 1977, becoming another major hit and demonstrating the band's range. The song started as a piano ballad before building into a full-throttle rocker, a structure that became a Styx trademark. The late 70s saw Styx release The Grand Illusion in 1977 and Pieces of Eight in 1978, both of which went multi-platinum. These albums featured elaborate concepts and production, marking the band's embrace of progressive rock influences while keeping their songs radio-friendly. Their success came from balancing accessibility with ambition. While some progressive rock bands alienated mainstream audiences with complexity, Styx crafted songs that worked both as radio singles and as parts of larger conceptual frameworks. Live performances showcased the band's musicianship and DeYoung's theatrical instincts. They incorporated elaborate staging and lighting, understanding that concerts were about creating experiences. This approach helped them build a following that extended beyond casual radio listeners. By the end of the decade, Styx had positioned themselves for even greater success in the 80s. But for those who followed them through the 70s, the band represented a group that refused to be pigeonholed, constantly evolving while maintaining the core elements that made them distinctive. Number 6. Bad Company. When Bad Company formed in 1973, they brought together musicians from some of Britain's most respected rock bands. Paul Rodgers from Free, Mick Ralphs from Mott the Hoople, Simon Kirke from Free, and Boz Burrell from King Crimson created a supergroup that lived up to the hype. Their self-titled debut album, released in 1974, went to number 1 and established them as major players. Their sound was cleaner and more polished than many of their hard rock contemporaries. Rodgers' powerful vocals gave the band its distinctive edge, while Ralph's guitar work provided melodic hooks that made their songs memorable. Can't Get Enough, their first single, reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. Bad Company and Feel Like Makin' Love became staples on rock radio, showcasing the band's ability to craft songs that were both commercially viable and musically substantial. The band's success continued throughout the mid-70s with albums like Straight Shooter and Run with the Pack. They toured extensively, building a reputation for solid professional performances that didn't rely on gimmicks or theatrics. Bad Company let their music speak for itself. What set them apart was their consistency. While other bands experimented with different sounds or suffered from internal conflicts, Bad Company maintained a steady output of quality rock music. They understood their strengths and played to them. By the late 70s, creative tensions and the pressures of constant touring began to take their toll. The band's output slowed, and they eventually took a hiatus in the early 80s. But for those who grew up in the 70s, Bad Company represented a certain standard of professionalism and musicianship that made them reliable favorites. Number 5. Kansas. All we are is dust in the wind. Kansas brought progressive rock to Middle America, creating a sound that combined classical influences with hard rock energy. The Topeka-based band, featuring Kerry Livgren, Steve Walsh, Robbie Steinhardt, Rich Williams, Dave Hope, and Phil Ehart, built a following through relentless touring before achieving mainstream success. Carry On Wayward Son, released in 1976, became their breakthrough hit. The song's layered vocals, intricate instrumental passages, and philosophical lyrics appealed to listeners who wanted more substance in their rock music. It reached number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100 and established Kansas as more than just another regional band. Their biggest success came with Dust in the Wind in 1977, a stark departure from their usual sound. The acoustic ballad showcased the band's versatility and reached number 6 on the charts. Its contemplative lyrics about mortality and the fleeting nature of existence resonated with audiences in ways that their harder-edged material hadn't. Albums like Leftoverture and Point of No Return went multi-platinum, proving that there was a substantial audience for progressive rock that didn't abandon melody or accessibility. Kansas managed to incorporate violin, complex time signatures, and classical music elements while keeping their songs engaging for listeners. Dust in the wind. Their live shows highlighted the band's technical proficiency. Steinhardt's violin work added a unique element to their sound, while Walsh's vocals provided the power necessary to fill arenas. They delivered performances that showcased genuine musicianship. As the 70s ended, Kansas continued to release albums and tour, though they never quite recaptured the commercial heights of their mid-70s peak. But for those who grew up with them, Kansas represented the possibility that rock music could be both intelligent and entertaining. All we are is dust in the wind. Number 4. Blue Oyster Cult. Blue Oyster Cult carved out a unique space in 70s rock, combining hard rock power with literary lyrics and an enigmatic image. The Long Island Band, featuring Eric Bloom, Buck Dharma, Alan Lanier, Joe Bouchard, and Albert Bouchard created music that was heavier than most FM radio fare, but more sophisticated than typical hard rock. Don't Fear. The Reaper, released in 1976, became their biggest hit and one of the decade's most iconic songs. The track's haunting guitar riff and lyrics about mortality connected with audiences in unexpected ways. It reached number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 and introduced millions to a band that had been building a cult following for years. Their sound incorporated elements of heavy metal, psychedelic rock, and even progressive rock, creating something that defied easy categorization. Songs like Godzilla and Burnin' For You showcased their ability to write catchy, radio-friendly tracks while maintaining musical credibility. The band's lyrics often referenced science fiction, horror, and the occult, giving them a mystique that set them apart from their peers. Blue Oyster Cult's live performances were powerful affairs that emphasized their musicianship and showmanship. Buck Dharma's guitar work was consistently impressive, delivering solos that were technically proficient without becoming self-indulgent. The band's stage presence was understated but effective, letting the music create the atmosphere. Throughout the 70s, they released a series of well-received albums that built their reputation among serious rock fans. Agents of Fortune and Spectres both went gold, proving that there was a solid audience for their particular brand of intelligent hard rock. They weren't going to compete with the biggest arena bands in terms of sales, but they didn't need to. They'd built something sustainable. By the decade's end, Blue Oyster Cult had established themselves as a band with staying power. They weren't chasing trends or trying to manufacture hits. They made the music they wanted to make and found an audience that appreciated it. For those who grew up in the 70s, they represented a more cerebral alternative to straightforward rock and roll. Number 3. Humble Pie. Humble Pie emerged from the British rock scene in 1969 with a lineup that included Steve Marriott from Small Faces and Peter Frampton from The Herd. The band's raw, blues-based rock sound found particular success in America during the early 70s, where they became fixtures on FM radio and the concert circuit. Their live album, Performance Rockin' the Fillmore, released in 1971, captured the band at their peak. The record went gold and established them as a serious live act, capable of delivering extended jams that showcased both power and musicianship. Marriott's vocals were fierce and soulful, giving the band a distinctive edge.
30 days in a hole. Come on.
I Don't Need No Doctor became one of their signature songs, a testament to their ability to take blues and soul material and transform it into something heavier and more aggressive. The song's extended live version became a showcase for the band's improvisational skills and Marriott's vocal range. After Frampton left in 1971 to pursue a solo career, the band continued with guitarist Clem Clemson. Their albums Smokin' and Eat It both achieved gold status, proving they could maintain commercial success despite the lineup change. Songs like 30 Days in the Hole became FM radio staples, combining hard rock energy with bluesy grooves. Humble Pie's strength was their authenticity. They didn't try to manufacture an image or chase commercial trends. They played the music they loved, rooted in blues and soul traditions, and delivered it with the intensity of a hard rock band. This honesty resonated with audiences who appreciated musicians who seemed genuinely committed to their craft. The band's influence extended beyond their commercial success. Many musicians cited Humble Pie as an important influence, particularly for their live performances and Marriott's vocal approach. They represented a bridge between British blues rock and the heavier sounds that would dominate the 70s. Number 2. Uriah Heep. Uriah Heep brought theatrical bombast to hard rock, creating a sound that was simultaneously heavy and ornate. The British band, featuring David Byron, Mick Box, Ken Hensley, Gary Thayne and Lee Kerslake, became massive in Europe and built a substantial American following through constant touring. Their sound combined heavy guitar riffs with elaborate keyboard arrangements and Byron's powerful vocals. Albums like Demons and Wizards and The Magician's Birthday, both released in 1972, showcased their ability to blend hard rock with progressive elements. Songs like Easy Livin' and Sweet Lorraine received significant airplay on FM radio. Easy Livin' became their highest charting single in America, reaching number 39 in 1972. The song's combination of hard rock energy and accessible melody made it a perfect fit for rock radio. It demonstrated that Uriah Heep could write commercially viable material without abandoning their heavier instincts. The band's lyrics often dealt with fantasy themes, wizards, and mythology, giving them a distinctive identity in the hard rock landscape. This approach appealed to fans who wanted their rock music to offer escapism and imagination alongside power and volume. Uriah Heep created worlds within their songs, inviting listeners to enter realms of magic and mystery. Their live shows were elaborate affairs that matched the grandiosity of their studio work. Multiple keyboard setups, dramatic lighting, and Byron's commanding stage presence created spectacles that went beyond simple rock concerts. They understood that for many fans, seeing Uriah Heep was about experiencing something larger than life. Critical reception was often harsh, with reviewers dismissing them as overly theatrical or pretentious. But commercial success told a different story. Their albums consistently went gold, and they sold out venues across America and Europe. The gap between critical assessment and popular appeal was stark, but Uriah Heep never seemed particularly concerned with winning over reviewers. Number 1. The Doobie Brothers. The Doobie Brothers defined California rock in the 70s with their blend of rock, soul, and R&B influences. Formed in San Jose in 1970, the band, featuring Tom Johnston, Patrick Simmons, and later Michael McDonald, created a sound that was immediately recognizable and consistently popular throughout the decade. Listen to the Music, released in 1972, established their reputation for crafting infectious, harmony-rich rock songs. The track reached number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became a defining song of early 70s California rock. Its message of unity through music and its sing-along chorus made it an instant classic. Long Train Runnin' and China Grove followed in 1973, both becoming major hits and showcasing the band's ability to blend rock guitar work with soulful rhythms. These songs featured intricate guitar interplay between Johnston and Simmons, creating a signature sound that influenced countless bands that followed. When Michael McDonald joined in 1975, the band's sound evolved toward a more sophisticated R&B influenced direction. Taking It to the Streets and What a Fool Believes represented this new phase, with McDonald's distinctive vocals and keyboard work adding new dimensions to their music. What a Fool Believes would become their biggest hit, though it reached number 1 in 1979. Throughout the 70s, the Doobie Brothers maintained a remarkable consistency in both commercial success and musical quality. Albums like The Captain and Me and Stampede went multi-platinum, while their singles remained fixtures on both AM and FM radio. They had the rare ability to appeal to both casual listeners and more serious music fans. Their live performances emphasized musicianship and vocal harmonies, creating shows that were musically satisfying without relying on visual gimmicks. The band's multiple vocalists and instrumental versatility allowed them to recreate their studio sound faithfully, while adding spontaneous elements that made each performance unique. The Doobie Brothers represented the accessible face of 70s rock, creating music that was well-crafted, professionally executed, and designed to make people feel good. They weren't revolutionaries or provocateurs. They were skilled musicians making excellent pop rock music, And that proved to be exactly what millions of listeners wanted. These 10 bands filled stadiums, dominated airwaves, and provided the soundtrack to countless memories. For those who lived through the 1970s, they weren't obscure underground acts or forgotten failures. They were genuine stars of their era, moving millions of records and creating music that defined a generation. Yet their names rarely appear in today's retrospectives or streaming playlists. For those who grew up in the 70s, these bands need no introduction. Their songs are permanently wired into memory, connected to specific moments, places, and feelings that shaped who you became. The music hasn't lost its power. It's just waiting for anyone willing to look beyond the usual suspects and discover what made the 70s such a remarkable decade for rock and roll. If this brought back memories or introduced you to bands you'd forgotten, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the music that shaped our lives. There are countless stories still waiting to be told about the artists who made the 70s unforgettable.